Hey guys, tonight we step into a quiet room inside your mind, the one that's been buzzing like a caffeinated squirrel lately. You probably won't survive this without your mental gears grinding at least once or twice because, let's be honest, overthinking is the brain's favorite party trick. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, while you're at it, drop your location and local time in the comments. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You trudge through the endless loop of thoughts, past mistakes, future worries, and what ifs stretching like shadows in the evening sun. The world outside your window hums softly, but inside, it's chaos. What if there was a way to stop the mental treadmill, to step off and stand firmly in the present? Buddhism, ancient and wise, has been pointing toward this for over 500 years. The Buddha himself urged his followers to be where your feet are anchoring awareness, firmly in the now. Today you're about to learn how embracing the present moment can dissolve overthinking and open the door to inner peace. Imagine sitting by a river, watching water flow past your thoughts. Are like that river, always moving, never still. Trying to catch a single leaf in that river is as futile as grabbing onto fleeting worries. By gently bringing your attention back to the present, you stop chasing shadows. This simple practice is sometimes called mindfulness, a word that has become the darling of wellness culture, but is deeply rooted in Buddhist tradition. Historians still argue whether mindfulness, as taught today, reflects the original practices, but its essence remains be here now. Even in ancient times, meditation masters noticed that most suffering stems from living in the past or future. Your mind is a time traveler, but the present moment is the only place that truly exists. Scientists now confirm that mindfulness reduces stress hormones and rewires the brain toward calmness, so it's not just woo-woo. And quirky fact, some monks train by standing on one leg for hours to master balance and presence, kind of like the world's calmest flamingos. Who knew flamingos could teach us about peace? To begin, simply observe what's around you: the feel of the chair, the hum of the fan, the rhythm of your breath. When your mind races, imagine placing each thought on a passing cloud, letting it float away instead of clinging on. Over time, this anchors you to now, breaking the cycle of overthinking that often feels like mental quicksand. Remember that crocodile dung sunscreen from last week's story? Just as the ancients found unusual ways to protect their bodies, you're discovering timeless tools to protect your mind. Start small. A moment here, a breath there. The present moment is patiently waiting for you to show up. Your mind is a relentless chatterbox, constantly narrating, judging, planning, and sometimes downright nagging. Tonight, you're learning how to step back and watch that inner voice without grabbing onto every word like it's gospel truth. Observing your thoughts without judgment is like becoming a curious bystander in your own mental theater, popcorn optional. This skill is essential to calm the storm of overthinking that often feels like an endless carousel spinning just a bit too fast. You might notice how easy it is to get sucked into the stories your brain tells. I should have done this. What if that happens? Or the classic, why am I such a mess? But what if you could listen without reacting? That's the game changer. The Buddha described this as witnessing consciousness, a part of you that simply notices thoughts as passing phenomena, like clouds drifting across the sky, not the weather itself. Historians still argue whether early Buddhist texts meant this as a literal practice or metaphor, but either way, the idea stuck. When you watch your thoughts without judgment, you create a little space, a mental buffer between you and the swirling storm. This space is crucial because it stops thoughts from grabbing you by the collar and pulling you into spirals of worry or regret. It's like realizing that the anxiety about an upcoming presentation is just noise, not an actual storm, and that you can choose not to dance in the rain. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some Tibetan monks practice thought watching by imagining their thoughts as little animals, maybe a cheeky monkey or a slow-moving tortoise. This playful approach reduces the pressure of controlling your mind, making it easier to watch without frustration. You don't have to be a monk or live in the Himalayas to try it, though. You can start right now. Try this. Next time your mind races, when a thought pops up, don't push it away or dive in. Instead, label it gently. There's a worry or there's a plan. Notice how labeling can reduce its power. Neuroscientists have found that naming emotions activates parts of the brain that regulate feelings, calming the system down. So yes, even science backs you up on this one. Also remember that famous philosophical debate about whether our thoughts define us or merely pass through us. Scholars still mull over this. For now, you can benefit by choosing to see thoughts as guests, not permanent residents. They come, they go, and you don't have to serve them tea or invite them to move in. In practicing this non-judgmental observation, you build resilience against the mental noise that fuels overthinking. You gain the power to decide which thoughts deserve your attention and which can be left to wander off. It's like turning down the volume on a noisy radio station. Suddenly, you hear the music beneath. So, as you settle in tonight, try watching your thoughts as if you're an amused spectator. The ones that cause you distress might start to lose their grip, and peace begins to peek through the cracks. You're probably familiar with the way a deep breath can shift your mood in a snap, like hitting a reset button on your frazzled brain. Tonight, you're going to lean into this simple yet powerful tool, mindful breathing. This practice isn't just about filling your lungs, it's about training your mind to settle into calm one breath at a time, breaking the endless loop of overthinking. When your mind races, your breathing often becomes shallow and fast, like a startled squirrel. By consciously slowing down your breath, you send a signal to your nervous system that it's safe to relax. This is no new trick. Ancient yogis and Buddhist monks have been using breathwork for thousands of years, recognizing it as a direct bridge between body and mind. Historians still argue whether pranayama techniques originated in India or evolved independently across Asia, but the impact remains profound. Try this right now. Breathe in slowly for a count of 4. Hold gently for 4, then exhale smoothly for 4. Repeat a few times. Notice how your body softens, your shoulders drop, and the mental chatter eases into a distant hum. This is the breath of presence, a tiny anchor in a stormy sea. Fun fact: some Zen monks practice a breathing method called just sitting or shikantaza, where they simply focus on breathing without trying to control it, almost like watching clouds without naming them. It sounds easy, but your mind will probably try to hijack the process with random thoughts, which is exactly the point. You learn to let them come and go without gripping. Science backs this up too. Studies show mindful breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, your body's rest and digest mode, and reduces cortisol, the stress hormone. So it's not just ancient wisdom, it's biology on your side. And here's a quirky bit: astronauts use breath control techniques during space missions to manage stress and focus. Space might be the final frontier, but mindful breathing is an earthly lifesaver. When you practice mindful breathing, you're training your brain to pause between thoughts, creating a mental gap where peace can slip in. Think of it as a pause button for your busy mind, where the overthinking director takes a coffee break. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by your own thoughts, breathing consciously offers a way out without complicated equipment or apps. It's always with you, your silent ally. So tonight, let your breath be your guide. When overthinking creeps in, like an uninvited guest, invite your breath to lead you back home, to calm clarity and the gentle present moment. Change is the only constant, they say, and in this moment, that truth hums quietly beneath your skin. Tonight, you're invited to sit with impermanence, the idea that everything you cling to, every thought you obsess over, and every worry that keeps you awake is by nature fleeting. Accepting impermanence is like learning to ride the waves instead of fighting the ocean, offering a gentle path out of overthinking's quicksand. The Buddha famously taught anicca, or impermanence, as a cornerstone of his philosophy. nearly 2,600 years ago, he observed that all conditioned things arise and pass away. You probably know that already, but feeling it deeply in your bones changes everything. Historians still argue whether anicca was meant to be a psychological insight or a metaphysical statement, but its practical value remains undeniable. Imagine holding a flower. At first, it's vibrant and alive, but moments later it wilts, its petals fall. Life mirrors that cycle endlessly. Your thoughts, fears, and anxieties are no different. They bloom, fade, and vanish. When you grasp this, you loosen the grip of attachment that fuels endless mental loops. You no longer treat each worry like a permanent fixture on your mental furniture. Quirky fact alert. Some Buddhist monks use sand mandala's intricate designs, painstakingly created and then swept away to symbolize impermanence. It's a beautiful, deliberate act of letting go. You don't have to create sand art to learn from it. You just need to remember the lesson: nothing lasts forever. Modern psychology echoes this ancient wisdom. The idea of radical acceptance, embracing life as it is without resistance, has gained popularity for its ability to reduce anxiety and depression. Neuroscientists suggest that when you accept change rather than resist it, your brain decreases activity in the amygdala, the fear center. So accepting impermanence is not just philosophical fluff, it's a brain hack. Think back to that time you worried about a problem that in hindsight seemed minor or even resolved itself without your intervention. Overthinking tries to convince you that things will stay the same or get worse, but impermanence assures you they won't. This insight doesn't make challenges disappear, but it shifts your perspective so you don't carry unnecessary weight. So as you lie in bed tonight, let the understanding of impermanence wash over you like a cool breeze. Your thoughts, worries, and fears are clouds passing through your sky, not permanent storms. When you fully embrace this peace, can sneak in quietly and settle. Remember that flamingo monk balancing on one leg? Maybe the secret isn't perfect stillness, but flowing with change, gracefully, lightly, without resistance. Impermanence is your invitation to dance with life's ever-shifting rhythm. You're probably your own harshest critic, the relentless inner voice that never quite cuts you some slack. Tonight, you begin to cultivate compassion for yourself, the balm that soothes the sharp edges of overthinking and self-judgment. This isn't about bubble wrapping your ego. It's about a gentle kindness that makes peace, ease possible. The Buddha taught metta, or loving kindness, as a practice not only for others, but first and foremost for yourself. It might sound like self-help fluff, but thousands of years ago, this was radical advice. Historians still argue whether metta was originally directed inward or outward, but today's contemplatives agree it's essential for mental peace. Try this simple experiment when you catch yourself spiraling with thoughts like, "I'm not good enough," or "Why can't I get it right?" Pause and say silently, "May I be kind to myself?" It feels strange at first, like talking to an awkward stranger, but over time it softens the harsh self-criticism. Science backs this up. Research shows self-compassion reduces anxiety, depression, and even physical pain. And here's a quirky fact. Some psychologists compare self-compassion to a psychological immune system that helps you bounce back from stress. So really being kind to yourself is an act of mental hygiene. You might wonder, how do you cultivate compassion when your brain seems wired for critique? Start small. Notice the tone you use when thinking about yourself. If it's harsh, imagine how you would speak to a friend in the same situation. Chances are you'd be gentler. Now try to offer yourself that same kindness. Remember that quirky monkey and tortoise from last section. Think of self-compassion as the steady tortoise guiding your inner monkey, taming it with patience and warmth. You're not erasing imperfections, you're embracing them with a soft heart. The ancient Buddhist texts sometimes describe metta meditation as radiating kindness, like waves rippling outward, but it always begins with you. This practice rewires your brain, nurturing areas linked to emotional regulation and empathy. That's neuroscience meeting ancient wisdom in a friendly hug. So tonight, as your mind tends to its usual overgrown garden of worries and judgments, water it with compassion instead of criticism. It's okay to be imperfect, to stumble, and to have rough patches. Self-kindness is the key to calming the relentless mental storm and inviting peace inside. In your quiet moments, remember that peace isn't about perfection, but about gentle acceptance of your humanness. And with that, the endless loop of overthinking starts to loosen its grip. You know that feeling when you try to plan every tiny detail of your day, only to find yourself exhausted and tangled in what-ifs. Tonight, you're invited to explore the liberating practice of letting go of control. Surrendering the urge to micromanage every outcome isn't giving up, it's freeing mental energy that overthinking so eagerly devours. Buddhism calls this release non-attachment, a principle as counterintuitive as it is powerful. Nearly 2,500 years ago, the Buddha observed that clinging tightly to desires and expectations breeds suffering. Historians still argue about how this teaching was originally meant to apply to everyday life versus spiritual enlightenment, but its relevance for calming overthinking is undeniable. Picture a leaf floating down a river, gracefully moving wherever the current takes it. Trying to hold on to that leaf is futile and frustrating. When you stop trying to control the leaf's path, you free yourself from the stress of resistance. That leaf is your mind's worries and plans, always shifting and unpredictable. Here's a quirky bit: some Zen practitioners meditate on letting go by imagining their grip loosening on an imaginary rope, watching tension drain from their hands and arms. It's a simple physical metaphor for an internal process. You don't need to be a Zen master to try this. Even a brief moment of surrender can be a game changer. Science weighs in as well. Studies suggest that letting go of control lowers cortisol and heart rate, while persistent control seeking activates stress responses. Your brain doesn't like feeling trapped by rigid plans. Flexibility is its natural state. To practice letting go, start by noticing when you're obsessively trying to steer outcomes, maybe in relationships, work, or even daily tasks. Then gently remind yourself, I can't control everything, and that's okay. Try a deep breath and imagine releasing the need to fix everything right now. This doesn't mean apathy or neglect. It means accepting uncertainty and focusing on what's within your reach. Balance action with surrender, a dance where you lead sometimes and follow other times. Remember the flamingo monk. Maybe his secret isn't just balance, but the grace to bend without breaking. Letting go is your invitation to flow with life rather than fight it. So tonight, practice surrendering your grip on the uncontrollable. Watch how the mental noise softens, creating room for peace to grow. The quiet moment between your thoughts, that elusive silence you crave, can be cultivated through meditation. Tonight, you step into this ancient practice to gently quiet the mind's relentless buzz. Meditation isn't about stopping thoughts entirely. It's about changing your relationship with them, like tuning down a noisy radio until you hear the subtle music beneath. The Buddha's own journey began with meditation under the Bodhi tree, where he sought enlightenment through deep focus. Historians still argue about the exact methods he used, but the essence of meditation as a tool for calming mental storms is timeless. Start simply: find a comfortable seat. Close your eyes and bring attention to your breath. When thoughts arise, and they will acknowledge them without judgment and return to the breath. This returning is the heart of meditation, a kind of mental exercise that builds strength and calm over time. Here's a quirky tidbit: in some monasteries, monks meditate while walking slowly, focusing on each step's sensation. It's called kini and reminds you that meditation isn't confined to sitting still. It's about presence in motion too. You don't need robes or a monastery, just your breath and a few quiet minutes. Science supports meditation's benefits abundantly. Research shows regular practice changes brain areas related to attention, emotion regulation, and stress reduction. Even brief daily sessions can lower anxiety and improve mental clarity. So meditation is not just spiritual mumbo-jumbo, It's brain training backed by evidence. Imagine your thoughts like a swarm of bees buzzing around a flower. Meditation teaches you to watch the bees without swatting them away. Over time, the swarm quiets, revealing the flower's calm center. If you've ever felt stuck in a loop of overthinking, meditation creates a gentle pause, a space where you can witness your thoughts without being swept away. It's like learning to surf instead of drowning in waves. So tonight, try sitting with your breath and let meditation guide you toward the silence between thoughts. It's a practice, not perfection, and every moment you return to breath is a victory. Remember, even the Buddha's enlightenment came after years of patient meditation. Your peace is a journey, and this is one step along the path. Tonight, you're invited to take a bold step, recognizing the illusion of self. That nagging voice that says, "I am this" or "I am that," is a mental construct, not an unchanging truth. When you see through the ego's smokescreen, you loosen the chains of obsessive thinking that revolve around me and mine. Buddhist teachings describe the self as a dynamic, ever-changing process called anatta, or not-self. Over 2,500 years ago, the Buddha challenged the notion of a permanent fixed identity. Historians still debate how literal or metaphorical this teaching was meant to be, but its psychological implications are profound. Think of yourself like a river flowing and shifting moment to moment. Your thoughts, feelings, and memories are the water, not the river itself. Clinging to a rigid self-concept is like trying to hold water in your hand. It slips through your fingers. Here's a quirky fact. Some meditation masters playfully call the ego a monkey mind, always jumping from one branch of thought to another. When you understand that this monkey is not your true self, you stop feeding its frantic energy. Science today explores how the brain creates a sense of self, with some neuroscientists proposing that the self is a constructed narrative rather than a fixed entity. This insight helps explain why over-identifying with thoughts can trap you in loops of worry and self-doubt. By recognizing the fluid, impermanent nature of the self, you step back from the drama of your inner critic. It's as if you become the stage rather than the actor in your mental play. This shift reduces attachment to negative self-judgments and frees mental space. If this sounds abstract, try a simple exercise. Observe your thoughts and feelings as passing clouds in a vast sky. Notice how the sky, the awareness, remains steady while clouds come and go. Remember the flamingo monk? Maybe his calm balance comes from knowing he's more than just one pose or moment. He's part of a greater flow. You're invited to join this flow by loosening your grip on fixed identity. So tonight, let the idea of no self sink in like a gentle wave, washing away the tightness of ego-driven overthinking and inviting a spacious peace. You've been sprinting in the mental marathon of doing planning and worrying nonstop, and now it's time to find balance, a harmony between action and acceptance. Tonight, you learn to walk the fine line where effort meets ease, where trying and surrendering coexist without exhausting your mind. The Buddha's middle way teaches avoiding extremes, neither clinging to rigid asceticism nor indulging in reckless excess. This balanced approach extends beyond physical life to your mental habits. Historians still argue whether the middle way was originally a spiritual guideline or practical advice for daily living, but its wisdom applies beautifully to managing overthinking. Think about how exhausting it is to push constantly versus how paralyzing it feels to give up entirely. Neither extreme brings peace. Instead, balancing doing with being lets you engage fully without spiraling into obsessive control or helplessness. Here's a quirky insight. Some meditators joke about Zen productivity, where you do your work calmly, but with full presence, like a cat stalking a laser pointer. Not frantic, just focused. Maybe the secret to mental balance lies in adopting a feline approach to your tasks. Science finds that people who practice acceptance alongside action report lower stress and higher resilience. Psychologists call this acceptance and commitment, which involves accepting what you can't change while committing to meaningful actions. Your brain thrives on this dynamic balance. Try this when you notice yourself obsessing over a problem. Ask, what can I do right now? And then gently remind yourself, what can I accept without resistance? This dual question grounds you in reality without forcing the impossible. Remember the leaf on the river. Balancing action and acceptance is like holding the leaf gently, neither squeezing nor letting go completely, allowing it to float downstream with your guidance. The flamingo monk probably embodies this balance too, steady yet flexible, active yet peaceful. You're learning to be the same. So tonight, let go of the idea that you must either control everything or surrender entirely. Embrace the dance of balanced effort and calm acceptance, and watch how overthinking loses its grip. Anxiety often feels like an unwelcome guest, crashing your mental party, spinning stories of doom and disaster. Tonight, you're invited to turn this anxious energy into curiosity, a gentle inquiry that loosens fear's tight grip and invites discovery instead of dread. It's like swapping the scary movie for a lighthearted documentary. The Buddha encouraged approaching experience with openness and curiosity qualities that shift your relationship with fear. Over 2,500 years ago, this wasn't just about avoiding suffering, but understanding it deeply. Historians still argue how much early Buddhist teachings encouraged intellectual inquiry versus devotional practice, but curiosity remains a cornerstone of mindfulness. Imagine your anxiety as a curious child asking, "Why am I scared?" instead of a terrifying monster lurking in the shadows. This subtle change in attitude creates space for exploration rather than avoidance. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some meditation teachers suggest personifying anxiety as a shy creature that just wants to be understood. This playful approach reduces tension and invites compassion. Modern psychology supports this too. Studies show that when you approach anxiety with curiosity, brain areas related to threat detection quiet down and regions involved in problem solving activate. It's like giving your brain a new script. Try this. Next time worry arises, pause and ask, what is this feeling really about? What can I learn from it? Notice how your body feels and what thoughts accompany the anxiety. Observing without judgment transforms fear into information. Remember the monkey mind from earlier sections? Turning anxiety into curiosity is like swapping the monkey's wild leaps for thoughtful pauses. The energy is still there, but redirected toward understanding. The ancient sand mandalas swept away to teach impermanence. Think of your anxious thoughts, similarly temporary patterns that can be observed, understood, and released. So tonight, welcome your anxiety as a curious guest rather than an enemy. Let gentle questions replace frantic worry, and watch how your mind relaxes into a softer, wiser state. You've probably noticed how certain daily habits can either tether you to stress or anchor you in calm. Tonight, you'll explore creating sacred daily rituals, small intentional acts that cultivate peace and mindfulness in your everyday life. These rituals aren't about grand gestures, but about weaving moments of presence into the fabric of your day. Buddhism emphasizes the power of routine in spiritual practice, with monks observing daily rituals like chanting meditation and mindful walking. These repetitive actions build mental stability and focus. Historians still debate whether these rituals evolved from purely spiritual discipline or practical lifestyle habits, but their effectiveness in fostering peace is well documented. Imagine starting your morning by lighting a candle or simply sipping tea with full attention. These simple acts become sacred when performed mindfully, shifting you from autopilot to presence. The ritual doesn't need to be complex. It just needs your full attention. Here's a quirky example. Some monks use a tiny bell as a reminder to return to the present moment during their busy day. You could use a similar trigger, maybe a phone chime or a breath to ground yourself. Science supports the benefits of ritual. Studies find that predictable routines reduce anxiety and increase feelings of control and well-being. Rituals activate the brain's reward centers, reinforcing positive habits and calming the nervous system. Try adding a brief mindful ritual to your day. It could be a moment of gratitude before meals, a 5-minute meditation, or a mindful stretch. The key is consistency and intention. Remember the flamingo monk balancing patiently. These small rituals are like the feathers that keep you steady, delicate but essential. Over time, these rituals become anchors of calm in a chaotic world, helping you break free from overthinking by rooting you in the here and now. So, tonight, consider what small ritual you can introduce tomorrow. Something simple yet sacred to nurture your peace daily. Solitude and silence. They're like the underrated superfoods for your restless mind. Tonight, you're invited to embrace these quiet allies, giving your brain a much-needed break from the constant noise of overthinking. This isn't about loneliness. It's about reconnecting with yourself in a deep and healing way. The Buddha often retreated to forests and caves, seeking solitude to deepen his practice. Ancient monks revered silence as a path to clarity and insight. Historians still debate how integral silence was in early Buddhist communities versus the later monastic traditions, but the value of quiet remains undeniable. Imagine sitting alone, the world's noise dimmed to a whisper. In that stillness, your mind's chatter softens, revealing hidden thoughts and feelings without judgment. This space is fertile ground for healing and peace. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some Buddhist practitioners engage in noble silence, where they refrain from speaking for days, even weeks, to deepen inner listening. You don't need to go that far. Just a few moments without distraction can work wonders. Science tells us that silence lowers stress hormones and increases production of cells that repair brain tissue. So silence literally helps your brain recover from the daily barrage of stimuli. Try carving out quiet moments during your day. No phone, no music, just you and the sound of your breath or the world around you. Notice how this breaks the cycle of overthinking by giving your brain a break. Remember the leaf on the river. Silence is like the still pool where the river rests before flowing again. You're invited to find that pool within yourself. So tonight, lean into silence and solitude as allies against the mental noise. Let your mind rest, recharge, and find peace in the quiet spaces. When overthinking tightens its grip, your body often holds the tension like an overstuffed suitcase you don't want to unpack. Tonight, you'll learn how visualization, a creative mental rehearsal, can help release that built-up tension and ease persistent thoughts. Think of it as a gentle mental massage for your overloaded brain. Buddhist masters have long used visualization practices, imagining serene landscapes or radiant light to cultivate calm and focus. These guided images serve as mental anchors, pulling you away from spiraling thoughts. Historians still debate how much visualization was emphasized in early Buddhism compared to later tantric traditions, but its calming effect is well recognized. Try this. Close your eyes and picture a soft golden light slowly spreading through your body, dissolving knots of tension. Imagine your worries as leaves floating away on a gentle stream. This isn't just wishful thinking. It's a powerful tool your mind responds to. A quirky note. Some Tibetan monks visualize themselves as deities with multiple arms, each hand holding a tool for compassion or wisdom. While that might sound far out, the principle is simple, using vivid mental imagery to transform your inner state. Science backs this up. Visualization activates the same brain areas as real experiences, helping to regulate emotions and reduce anxiety. Athletes use it to improve performance. You can use it to improve your peace of mind. Next time your thoughts feel like a tangled ball of yarn, try creating a peaceful mental scene, a quiet forest, a calm ocean, or a gentle rain. Let the imagery soften your mental knots. Remember the sand mandalas we talked about? Visualization is like creating your own mental mandala, intricate, beautiful, and temporary, inviting you to appreciate and then release. So tonight, let your imagination be your guide to release tension and quiet your mind's chatter. With each mental image, you carve a path toward calm. Nature has an uncanny way of reminding us that life flows in rhythms far beyond our mental grasp. Tonight, you're invited to reconnect with nature's calming presence, a powerful antidote to the whirlwind of overthinking. Whether it's the rustle of leaves, the steady pulse of ocean waves, or the dance of sunlight through branches, nature speaks a language of peace your mind understands deeply. Since the Buddha's time, monasteries have been built near forests, rivers, and mountains, honoring the natural world as a teacher and sanctuary. Historians still debate how much early Buddhist practice involved formal nature worship versus utilitarian retreat, but the healing power of nature is undeniable. Imagine walking barefoot on grass, feeling the earth beneath your feet, grounding your restless thoughts, or simply gazing at a tree's intricate branches, your mind slowing to match its quiet growth. A quirky fact: Japanese Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing, is a modern practice inspired by ancient traditions scientifically shown to reduce stress hormones and boost immune function. So yes, hugging trees might be more than a hippie cliche, it's brain medicine. Science explains this too. Exposure to natural environments lowers activity in the brain's default mode network, the same region involved in rumination and overthinking. Nature essentially hits the off switch on your mental hamster wheel. Try this tonight or tomorrow. Step outside even briefly and fully engage your senses. Listen to birds, feel the breeze, notice colors. Let nature's rhythm slow your mind. Remember the river and leaf analogy. Nature is the river's flow itself, steady, ever-changing, and alive. Aligning with it invites you to release control and overthinking. So, tonight, breathe in nature's quiet wisdom. Let it guide you back to a peaceful rhythm where thoughts come and go, like seasons, not storms. Patience, persistence. Two simple words that, when embraced, become the cornerstone of lasting peace. Tonight, you're invited to commit not just to fleeting moments of calm, but to a steady, enduring journey toward quieting your overthinking mind. Because let's be honest, peace isn't a one-time gift, it's a practice. The Buddha's path was long and disciplined, marked by countless days of meditation, reflection, and learning. Historians still debate how much immediate enlightenment was attainable versus the years of dedication needed, but everyone agrees that persistence is key. Imagine planting a seed. You water it, tend it, and wait. Growth doesn't happen overnight, and neither does mental peace. You might stumble, your mind might wander, but every return to calm is progress. A quirky fact: some meditation retreats last for months, even years. Monks may sit in silence through storms and distractions, showing us that patience is a muscle you can build. You don't need to sit for years to benefit, just consistent effort matters. Science supports this, showing that repeated practice rewires neural pathways, making calmness a natural response rather than a rare achievement. Your brain is plastic, meaning it changes with experience, so steady practice builds lasting peace. Tonight, as you prepare to rest, consider how every mindful breath, every moment of self-compassion, every gentle letting go adds up. You're not alone in this journey. Countless others have walked this path. Remember the flamingo monk balancing effortlessly. His grace comes not from perfection, but from persistent practice and patience. So, with kindness toward yourself, commit to this journey step by step, breath by breath. Peace is not a destination, but the road beneath your feet, waiting patiently for you to walk.